Today, we're going to be taking a look at another new thing. Well, not new, but new to me. This is the high-grade Mobile Suit Gundam Aerial from Mobile Suit Gundam, which from Mercury. This is a high-grade Gundam kit, which Gundam kits have always been something I've been kind of intrigued by. Kind of. It's one of those things that was kind of surprising that I never went into a little bit earlier in life, but here we are now, and it's good. It's really good. Other than that sticker on the right shoulder, which you're probably looking at. Maybe not. This one here, it's not very great. I bent it when I was putting it on. But the Gundam is interesting to me. It's something I never really touched before until recently, and it all started because I got a Master Grade Blitz Gundam, and kind of was like, I liked putting it together, but the figure, when I was done, I couldn't really pose it because it kept falling apart. Thus, I watched some videos and found out high grade's a little more sturdy. It's a little bit smaller, being at 1/144th scale instead of the 1/100th of the Master Grade kit, making this Gundam a good bit shorter than a 6-inch Black Series type figure, but is still pretty solid and still has a lot of good details other than the sticker here, which I really wish would stay down, but it won't. The sticky stuff probably dried up, so now it's just floating, which sucks. But the look of this suit is really great, and it's kind of what spoke to me in the beginning anyway. I didn't watch the series first, I obviously bought this first. I was looking at getting the Master Grade version of this set, but then when I heard the high grade was better than it, I went, okay, fine, I'll do it. It's $30 cheaper, still has all of the same stuff that can be done, it's just it's a more simplistic build and a smaller figure. And realistically, the build is pretty good. I like the build, it's still very, very fun, and it still kind of had the inner framework like the Master Grade did. Though not as much of it. It's still kind of there. But I don't think you could, take the armor off and be like, yep, it still functions. But overall, still very good. The build was fun, it was quick, it wasn't that long, and again, for $30, this is probably one of the best things you could get right now, honestly. And we'll talk about that towards the end. But the overall look of the figure is very nice. I do like the look of the blade antennas up here. I do like the kind of front ones and the back one. I just like that look. It's just a lot going on. The kind of armor on the suit is very nice because these little parts here, these little blue shoulder pads, these ones on the forearms, and even the little side panels down here on the legs, and these little tail coat parts are all semi-different things known as bit staves, which are removable components, which also are guns. That's awesome. They're just guns, all of them. All of those removable parts are blasters, which is really, really cool. There's a specific stand you can get, which I don't own. I should have bought it yesterday when I was buying some more, but I didn't. But this is a very good suit. Now, don't mind this gray part here. This is actually an accessory that I forgot to take off. My bad. But the overall look is very clean. There's obviously not a lot going on. Kind of the most wonky part, I think, is the little tail parts here, which are just kind of stuck on there. I feel like there could have been maybe a better way. I feel like they're just a little too, like, they stick out a little too much. Like, maybe if they had have reversed it and put this, like, butt panel here on top instead of, the other way around, that could have been a little bit better. There is still actually an open port on the back, which is good, and you can use that for storage of that part I just had, or for storage of the gun, which does have a peg on the side just for that reason. Now, one thing I will attempt to say here is I did try to do panel lining. It didn't end too good. It doesn't look bad. I just got scared and didn't want to do any more, because that was a pretty easy area. I feel like the legs would be easy, but I feel like going up to the shoulders and then the chest would probably be a nightmare for me to even attempt, so I stopped. I got spooked, and, well, now we're good to go, I guess. Now, there's just two little black lines chilling there, which, yeah, it's fine. But overall, I mean, the look is cool. I do like these little kind of orangey red decals that run throughout it, which is very nice. Now, there's a couple areas. They are basically all stickers, except for these two up here, which are actually just printed out of the box, which is nice. These ones are actually backwards stickers in the thighs, and I believe also the one on the backpack as well is a backwards sticker, which has the detail on the sticky side, which is interesting considering that this one up here doesn't do that and is the correct way around, when they probably could have attempted to do the same thing for this one. It's weird. I don't know, because there is an actual like shelf part back there, so I don't know why they didn't. I don't understand it personally, but it is what it is. But overall, design-wise, look-wise, is fine. Stickers are whatever. I'm expecting stickers at this point, especially for something that's $30. I'm not expecting it to be printed out the wazoo or anything like that. This thing does come, however, with a good bit of accessories, which is a very nice thing. Now, while you don't get any alternate hands, sometimes they do. I do have two others that have alternate hands, that being the Darryl Balday and the Swartzette. They both come with an alternate left hand for some reason, not a right one, but okay. The set comes with a couple of accessories. Now, of course, we first have to talk about the gun because it's actually in the figure's hand. To remove and put the gun in the hand, you have to remove this exterior panel, which is a little fun if you lose it, because then you can't put anything in that hand and it will always look wonky. It won't look good at all. Now, the overall look of the gun is cool, though these parts here are actually bit staves, so they're not technically a part of it. They're more of like a focused beam, I think it makes the gun a little more focused. That's my headcanon. I don't know if that's actually what it does, but that's what it would seem to do, I would think. But that's not the only thing you can do with the gun, because it comes with this beam effect here, which makes it into a beam blaster, beam saber gun. Yes, this is a sword. This literally is a beam blade coming out of the gun. It's something. And again, this gun can also store on the back however you wish. Put it downward, upward, I don't care. Somehow, some way, it stores. And again, just goes in there and you can just add it into the hand like usual. Put it in like that. Take this white section here. And bada bing, bada boom, there you go. Now you have a sword. Now, unfortunately, my right hand is really loose, and I had to put some sticky tack in it to kind of get some stability out of it. It just was not the same as the left. The left hand is kind of tight, where the right hand was just super wobbly and loose. Didn't want to go in correctly, and I don't believe there was any, like, numb marks or anything that could stop that from happening, because it was just kind of a connection thing. I don't know what was going on with it to cause it to be so loose. There's not really any gappage in the plastic or anything, so it's just kind of odd that that right hand ended up being loose. The next accessory that we have here is the typical beam sabers, which are included with almost every Gundam figure. They're just up here on the backpack, which are these little white parts sticking out. Get two of them. Usually, I think almost every, not every Gundam has two, but the majority of Gundam always have these beam sabers. They've been around since the beginning, and they're always something I remember a Gundam having is a beam saber and, well, a big gun. And usually a shield as well, but usually it's the sword and the gun, if I'm being honest. And they're very nice. They're in blue, though in the show they're green, so technically they're inaccurate. Interesting. But they still look good and very nice for posing, as one would expect. And honestly, I do think that this is just a pretty nice thing, although it does bear very similar resemblance to another sci-fi weapon. Beam swords are always going to be a thing at this point, but every time I see them, I'm like, lightsaber, lightsaber. It's a lightsaber for a Gundam, and that's still very cool. But the last accessory we have is, again, that little gray part that was on the back of the figure. There it is. What is it? Well, what it does is it is a shield component. Those bit staves I mentioned earlier, technically, if you want to count them all as accessories, they are, you can remove them and create a shield out of the parts, which is pretty cool. And it's actually one of the main reasons I wanted this particular Gundam. Mainly because of that thing. Yeah, the ability that it has modular parts was just sounding really cool to me. To put the shield together, you simply take these longer blue and white components like that and put those onto those panels, or those holes there. Open up these little tabs on the bottom, therefore the little gray parts that go into the gun. You're then going to take the butt panel. Did I take the butt panel off? Not the butt panel. This one here. The one that was on the right arm. I'm confusing them. You're then going to do that, fold them down like so, and you get that. Now, that's pretty cool. You're then going to take this left arm panel, put that in the middle. Take these other side skirt type armor panels, put those there. Take the shoulder panels, and they quite simply just peg in like so. And you then take that and you get the shield, which is very, very cool. The shield simply just goes there, and in the show it kind of opens up to form kind of like a force field bubble type thing. It's just very cool. And again, it was one of the main reasons I wanted the figure. But then I figured out throughout most of the line pretty much just has the shield, which kind of made me sad. The only one it doesn't so far that I own is the Swordsette, but that's also a different manufacturer than this one, so that makes complete sense, I guess, why that one would have a sword instead of a shield. But still looks cool nonetheless, and honestly is pretty good. You can also store the shield if you like. If you don't want that, you can just go poof, there you go. And then you could also, if you want, store the gun on the hip instead of on the back, which honestly I find works a little better in this case. I don't know why, because it's not a pistol. It's very clearly like a rifle type weapon, but I find it works better on the hip stored than it does on the back. But that concludes all of the accessories, and now we must talk about articulation, which there's plenty of. You have a ball joint in the head, which can be a little finicky depending on how you move to the side. The head will come off. It constantly does, and I don't know why. There's no numb marks or anything. It's just stuck once you rotate it so far. The neck also moves forward and back at the arms. There is also a butterfly joint in there. Outward at the arm, you usually will end up getting the ball joint, but there is a hinge in there as well. There is a rotation, an elbow, and of course ball jointed wrist. At the waist, there is a swivel, a kind of tilt sideways, and there's kind of a little forward and back, but it's very restrictive due to the shaping of the armor. We then have forward and back the hips, outward, a double knee joint, which is very good. There is a bit of a thigh swivel in there. And when doing the knees, you have to make sure that they're like pulled up like that. And then forward and back tilt. Now, depending on how far you go with the forward, it loves popping off. The back will go constantly, but the forward, once you go so far, it just comes off. And there is a toe tilt and a heel tilt, which allows you to facilitate a ankle tilt, which pretty good. Now, that basically concludes the review here. That's the main parts of the figure, and that is the main parts of Ariel as a whole. Now, I didn't really mention much about it. This is a good figure. Very, very good. Now, just to talk about model kits as a whole, because at this point, they're currently dominating a lot of the spaces I'm in. Transformers is being dominated by blokies at this point, or blockies, which are these model kits, which look amazing, genuinely. They just don't transform, which kind of is fine for a lot of people. It's fine for me, honestly. I get the point of them. I won't touch them, because if I do, that'll start another chain reaction, and two things going at the same time doesn't end good for my wallet. But I did buy a lot more of this line. I ended up buying a lot of it. So much, in fact, that I have 4 other ones in my office, which is the Daryl Balde, which is this kind of red one with this very cool spear sword. As I mentioned, the Swordsette, which has a sword, kind of like the shield, the Caliburn, and the Elfrith, the white and pink one from the epilogue. And then I ordered 2 more because I'm an idiot. And then I ordered a 3rd one, which has nothing to do with Witch from Mercury, but I just like the look of the Gundam. So that was just, my own doing. But the overall thing here is I like model kits. They're very good. There's a couple things. Again, the quality is going to be a little bit iffier in points. There's a lot of loose parts depending on model kits. In this case, we have a loose right hand, and that's really the only loose part on this figure. Some of the other ones I have issues with their hips coming in and out too easily. Swartzette specifically has some horns that love falling off of the head. We'll talk about that if we ever review him. But that is about my main complaints. They're just great. Everything about these Gundams is like, okay, why wasn't I here before? Because $30 for this, which, again, a little smaller than a 6-inch, but it's definitely bigger than 3 3/4 inch, it's, you know, a little odd. You put it together like Lego, and it's a giant robot action figure. Everything I love basically culminates in this one little thing, and I'm like, you know what, I didn't touch it until now. And I don't know why. I really don't. They're very affordable. They're very good for what they are, and honestly, it's just a fun hobby. Like, genuinely, I could see, if I had more space, I'd have a lot more at this point. But, you know, hopefully we don't run into that issue. But I do like the look of this suit, and I think that it's a great thing to get, and it's a very good beginner set. It was good. As I said, it was my second one. It was my first ever high grade. And it's a great looking figure. Overall, I couldn't recommend this one enough. If you can still find it, I'm sure you can. It's a very popular design, I'm pretty sure. So it's just a very great thing, and I don't really regret it at all because, again, $30 for it is a pretty good price. And that goes for literally the rest. And the other ones are a little bit more for the most part because they're a little harder to find, I guess. They're like $40, but still, I don't mind paying $40 for them. They're still coming with more than a Black Series figure or a Transformer figure in a way. Well, Transformers still do transforming. Coming with more than a Black Series figure. Like this Anakin, who I had to give the cloak to from another figure because he doesn't come with it. But that is besides the point. We'll talk about him at a later date. But this has been my review of the Mobile Suit Gundam Ariel from The Witch from Mercury. This has been Elite signing out.